Hello, everybody. Here we will start the medical minutes, and today we have the honor to have Professor Dr. Abbas Al-Zubaidi. He is a longtime friend, and he is an assistant professor of radiological science and technology at the American University of Iraq, Baghdad, and internationally recognized for his pioneering contributions to medical thermology, thermoimaging, artificial intelligence in healthcare. He has many publications. You'll find this on internet and on PubMed, and most of their presentations are amazing. And today we invited him to present the news about his research and show us a little more about the future. And Professor Abbas is the right person to present this specifically in infrared image. Welcome, Professor. Thanks so much to take part of our medical minutes that is sponsored by the American Academy of Thermology. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Marcos, and all the colleagues, and for this honorable invitations for me. It's very pleasure to meet you again and to discuss about the recent innovations and the technological breakthrough in the field of medical thermography. My presentation will be short, but it will be like, a summary of what happened in the past and what's coming in the future regarding this interesting topic. Regarding the personality, I think Professor Marcos did very well introductions to me. I am very humble guy working with the crazy things in the healthcare technologies and try to make it better and for the kids, for the premature infants. And this is my first experience, with these creatures, because when I first, proposed my doctoral research at that time, I found it's very difficult, to match the knowledge, and to touch this clinical field, which is full of challenges, because the patient here is not able to speak, not able to express verbally or in any form of communication except crying and seizures episodes and stuff like that. It's clinically very challenging to interpret any clinical information data from this specific patient population, and that's why it came to the mind that we will develop. We need to develop contactless, really virtual sensing technologies in order to detect all these physiological changes within the premature infants. And the story starts with AFM. We will talk about how it starts. So for everybody knows, everybody here are experts in medical thermology, right? In medical thermal imaging and thermal biology. And we know that in the post-pandemic regarding the increment and the demands for the non-contact diagnosis is increased very sharply. Thermal imaging resurging as clinical tool, valuable clinical tool to monitor the fever episodes and hyperthermia episodes that's happened within the patients in the pandemic. And then it comes to the ideas, more developing ideas for the remote care, for the infection control, which is being part of a very strategic pathway to counteract the pandemic aftermath, and also for the continuous monitoring as well. As you know, the for the versatile use across settings, from the clinics, with hospitals, even to the rural areas, airports, public stations, public gathering spaces, all of these becomes, like a triggering point to use the thermal imaging as part of our big clinical tool to fight and to continuous monitoring all these changes. So medical thermology, I'm not going to, to smearing very short about the infrared thermal imaging principles. We use it as the black body radiations concept. It is also starting with the quantum, with the quantum theory by Professor by Max Planck, and then subsequent innovations in the development of this Planck theory. And then the thermal imaging itself, it becomes like more attributed to the diagnostic field starting in the 50s, early 60s, actually, late 50s, early 60s, when the thermal bolometer actually start to evolve technologically, and then we are heading in the to the field that shifting from the military applications to the clinical application or the civilian application. Then we found that there is a lot of potential application there, like in diagnostic, inflammation, vascular flow, metabolic activity. Some guys working extensively in the breast cancer, like, thermal mammothermography or the breast mammothermography. And then, yeah, there is a lot of debate about, the privilege and the usefulness of these tools and the screening of the breast cancer. I mean, in comparison to the conventional and the gold standard, the breast mammography or the X-ray mammography and the ultrasound. But it is the starting point of how we can use such technology um, for implementing such a useful clinical sensing tools and observation. Then we are after that becomes the innovations of the technological aspects of the fabrications of the microchips, and we are heading to the sub-nanometer. At that time, in the early 90s, we went to innovate a very miniature bolometer, and then the uncooled concept of bolometer actually have been conceptualized and also implemented. So, as part of the future, so we are talking about these revolutions in the artificial intelligence. I mean, I have been working in artificial intelligence in 23 years ago. I mean, part of my exposure with AI was developing convolutional neural network for the cardiovascular applications. But when it comes to the computer visions, AI have a very, very potential usage here. And for sure, we are dealing with the thermal images, which is part of the vision data. And this vision data, it can turn into a quantitative diagnosis inside by using AI. And this gives a lot of potentials, a lot of revolutionary tools in order to dig inside this physical dots, this physical data within the bolometer, or they have been acquired from the bolometer by using CNN, by using machine learning, by using advanced language interpretation models, different tensors, algorithms. It can be diversify the applications of computer vision and thermal imaging. And this can elevate thermography from a visual tool into a clinical sensor. So the concept of clinical sensor came from the thermal imaging itself. And then we have invented or innovate the new pathway for the researcher, for the clinicians, for the users, in order to produce a very valuable tool to observe this clinical or physiological changes. So what happens in Aachen? Starting in 2007, I have been realized to use AI actually, or the basics of algorithm of AI, like machine learning, like image segmentations, unsupervised clustering technologies in order to develop computer vision pathway for the thermal imaging acquired from the babies itself. And working with babies is very hard, as I said before. It is very challenging. The clinical setting is really dynamic. It's a lot of medical ethics there because we are dealing with a very critical physiological changes of the patients here. So we start by surprising phenomena that we can detect. Respiration from the small, tiny temperature differences in the babies, from the nostrils of the babies. You cannot believe it if I said we are working in the field, we are working in the detecting of the temperature differences less than 0.01 degrees centigrade difference between respiration. And this is very difficult for any bolometer at that time. So we need expensive bolometer, the same bolometer that used in the military, maybe more like sophisticated. And then we use it actually to insert it as a clinical. We certified this thermography imager as a clinical grader after extensive work. And then we are, at that point, we were able to detect expiration cycles, the heat distribution, even perfusion imbalances within the babies with using AI at that time. And this, the segmentation technologies or the computer vision applications in order to implement or changing the thermal imaging, the basic thermal images into clinical sensors. And then this improves the NICU outcomes. It is not ending there, but we actually try to implement the infrared camera itself within the controlling loop of the incubator. It is not published at that time. Well, I didn't publish the ideas or the prototype that I innovated at that time when I using the thermal camera in the closed loop inside incubator as software in the loop technologies using also AI. So I used fuzzy neural network controller in order to drive the incubator according to the temperature detected by the infrared camera itself. And it was really, I mean, a good approach, but sorry, it is not published. I will try to publish later. It's maybe also using some case study concept in order to show you how this technology is actually been developed within this challenging setting. So part of the outcomes that I have been developed, also working with the different colleagues and in the hospital, we publish a lot of work regarding not only closed neonatal care, but also open neonatal care. But I'm talking about open, it means the kangaroo mother care. Kangaroo mother care that we put a baby on the chest of the mother or the chest of the father in order to make very physiological, emotional connections. So we know that there is a hypothesis that the premature babies stabilize their thermoregulations when they are directly put on the chest of the mother. And everybody knows that, but scientifically it's not proven, right? We proved that actually with the thermal camera by monitoring this temperature fluctuations along the time. And then we developed a theory, we developed a model that can predict this temperature changes during the kangaroo mother care, which was a very good approach actually, because nobody actually touching this territory with the thermal imaging and with the neonatal medicine. And after that, we developed also detailed registration, detailed mapping of the thermal changes for different cases in the neonatal medicines. Unfortunately, at that time, there is limitations in the funding, so we didn't go through to complete atlas of the detailed registrations of the thermal atlas of the neonatal medicine. So I hope that one of you guys, for the future advancement. So with the advancement of technologies, there are many colleagues interested in continuing building up such atlas, which is very important, for the neonatal medicine. So let's go to the future, right? The future is bright here. I mean, we are dealing with a very powerful, very fast-paced revolutions in developing, the large language models and so on. So we are talking about the fusion, image fusion. We are talking about the hybridizations of two physical data at the same time, or more than two physical data, actually. It can be three. I mean, fusion is an open field for development. When I'm talking about thermal imaging, it can include temporal tracking of heat changes. We can also embed hyperspectral imaging at the same time in order to make, a very versatile tool, diagnostic tools here. And it can allows us, AI can allows us to analyze the flow patterns over time in early anomaly detections, fusion with the normal RGB sensors for the depth measurement and for the spatial accuracy. This open doors in the ischemia, infection, circulatory, peripheral monitoring, and also for the applications of thermal or what you call biometric IR signature, which is one of the field that's many groups working on that in order to develop a unique biometric signature based on the thermal data of each human being. Clinical application grid, everybody knows about it. We are talking about the breast cancer screening, diabetic food, ulcer, veterinary care, athlete recovery, but we need to do more, right? As ourselves, thermology experts and thermal imaging scientists, we need to do more beyond this grid, right? What I'm talking about is like opening the doors for more and more expandable, expansions in applications of thermal imaging, like, for example, space medicine. Um, the future is talking about we will be like, sending humans, to the outer space for the planetary missions. And we need thermal sensing. We need, a robust thermal sensing, which is critical for astronaut health monitoring, detect fatigue, metabolic shifts, and circulation changes. All these will be integrated for the autonomous diagnosis during the microgravity episode. And this is also part of my work. Actually, it is not, secondary work. When I worked with the Canadian Space Agency, when I'm trying to build, reliable medical imaging platform for the astronaut for the critical missions. Returning back to the AI. AI is very powerful, to be honest. Um, with the supercomputing capabilities, we can, my philosophy is, this is also maybe the philosophy of everybody here, right? Uh, to build a robust digital physiological state, like to copy or to emulate, simulate the thermal signature of our body in a digital twin, right? And this is the concept of digital twin. We want to copy ourselves as a digital twin. And this will allow us to mimicking all these physiological changes predicted, and then design the specific therapy or specific monitoring technologies in order to follow up with these changes, like, respiration, stress, circulation, metabolism. And AI will provide dashboard prediction trends and alert real time. It can help us to develop personalized healthcare, right? Setting a thermal camera in your house, and then it provides all the diagnostics for you, and then sending this report in telemetric approaches to the physicians and clinicians in order to diagnose you and prescribe you with the suitable clinical procedures or interventions. And will be the foundation of the personalized, predictive, and continuous care for sure, if we apply this concept of digital twin. And I am sure that everybody wants working with AI, that understanding that the digital twin is very important for the humanity in order to develop that more and more, which is widely used in the engineering and the medicine and drug discovery and so on. So global collaboration in ecosystem, for sure we want to build, thank you for this invitation in order to explore this idea about the collaborations, international collaborations, global collaborations with the Thermology members. Gathering all the AI researchers, exchanging the data sets, the clinicians, the engineers, public health agencies, device developers. All of these will be like, a very good strategies in order to advance the thermal imaging and thermology to the next frontier. Summary and talk away. So I'm sorry to take a lot of time from you. This is, but this is the talk is just like, want to reduce it as much as possible. So takeaways, we want to focus on the new frontiers, the new edges. We need to break a lot of frontiers here, like in continuous monitoring, physiological monitoring, the space medicine, predictive diagnostics, and the contactless diagnostics in many fields. And this we need, like, really powerful integrations and very concrete collaborations between the researchers around the globe. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very honored to give the speak for you guys and open for discussions if you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Amazing presentation. I love so much, and wow, you open your mind with many ideas here, and certainly we can do many things in future. Wow. For example, from your perspective, how can AI drive in thermal imaging contribute to the development of responsive digital physiological twins, particularly in continuous monitoring and early prediction of metabolic or vascular risk? So what do you think that's the best approach to start on this moment? Basically, the literature on what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, very good question, Professor Marcos. Digital twin. It, so we could start, you know, by the lump system. I mean, we could start with the thermal modeling of the cardiovascular system, thermal modeling of the cerebrovascular system, thermal modeling of the GIT of the abdominal organs. I started with the neonatal thermal modeling by use a supercomputer in Jülich at that time in order to develop what we call a digital twin at that time. But it is not, the concept is not like, you know, mature, because the computational power was very limited. At that time, and even it's very costly. For example, 8 minutes cost you about €2,000 in order to compute a single layer of thermal, single layer of the anatomical layer of the neonatal body, which is very expensive. Then you need to overall about computing 120,000 at that time. Now it becomes more cheap because of the supercomputing becomes, or the cluster supercomputing becomes more affordable, right? So we can distribute, you know, the workload of this computing, of this simulation computing between different clusters, and develop a specific thermal model for the, you know, for the abdominal organs or the respiratory organs. Stuff like that. I mean, the actions like that, steps like that, will allows us, you know, to reduce time, reduce cost, and building this digital twins.
So the other question is, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we developed a system that identify infected individual, not only fever, but infected without fever on that time. But when we published that, the pandemic finished. So it's not, we tried to help many. We did it in 5 countries, also in Lebanon, US, Mexico, Netherlands, in Brazil. And do you feel that it works to work and to be prepared for new pandemics in future with AI? So are you think on that also? Do you have any kind of solution or something on your table waiting the moment for that?
Well, I'm not tend to be, you know, scaremongering, but, you know, we should prepare ourselves for the next pandemic, for the next wave of pandemics, not only pandemic, but next wave, because you know, as evolutionary concept, there is a lot of development of the pathogens, you know, that starting from naturally or artificially. We should prepare ourselves. Part of this preparedness map, or the preparedness plan, is to build a reliable diagnostic tool, right? And part of it is thermal imaging, you know, and, you know, the emerging technologies, the fusion, like, you know, with AI, with AGI, with the quantum computing, that could be revolutionize the thing. And we can combat, you know, the pandemic by this technology, by this innovative technology. So I am here just like, you know, to raise the flag. Please go ahead, guys, develop, collaborate, and prepare for the next, for the next wave. And this is our job, right, as a scientist.
I have a last question before to open to the others. And on that time, we were working with robots equipped with AR sensors and to do the image bedside patient evaluation. But we stopped to work so much with robots because we was spent so much time and money. And when the AI grow, we change direction and say, no, now is not the moment of robots. This is the moment of AI, the brain first and after the body. So did you feel something like that? Because you are involved with the equipment, doing the image of neonates and designing all these things. Do you change your point of view to more on AI and less on the hardware?
No, actually,
no.
Well, no. Yes and no, because personally, I mean, I am biomedical engineer by training, right? So I love to innovate. I love to build. I like to build things, and building things, it's very amazing, because this is the civilizations. I mean, building hardware is not uh, a separated part
Yeah.
from the thermal imaging evolution. So we need to invest more in the, in the hardware development itself. Like for example, doing the quantum dot sensors, like for the thermal imaging, to get a high resolution on what we call hyper super resolution image detector or thermal imaging detector, which allows us to explore more data. I mean, uh, uh, with other than the existing technologies. So that's why we should also have a pathway for the hardware development, which makes us like more reliable in defining the new data analytics, the new paradigm for thermal data analytics that gathered from these technologies. Robot-assisted thermal imaging is also part. Thermal texture scanning, TTS. TTS technology is one of the untouchable field here. Uh, I want to see many researchers working on the thermal texture scanning because it allows us to develop a new technology rather than the CT scan, which is very uh, harmful, right? It's ionizing radiations, but with the thermal texture scan, it gives you a new frontier, right? A new alternative. So I want actually, personally, I want many researchers to focus on hardware. So I mean, like with the help of AI, for sure. I mean, if you are using AGI or ASI technologies or these algorithms in order to develop the new hardware, yes, go ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to motivate that.
Okay, thank you to advise me because many people there's other idea that many people think is beyond the robot. It's the cabin, the big box you enter inside, and you
Right.
have many sensors and also infrared imaging doing that. And actually, we are doing a partnership with Florida State University, and
Right.
we are developing something like that. Do you believe this is the future? Because there are many investors on that. Also, the Spotify owner is investing something in England, blah blah blah. But the point here is, we do you believe infrared have space on that? We are on the right way to invest on this, go on this direction. So the future are big box cabins to put people inside and do non-invasive tests with infrared. These things. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, actually, I believe in that. I mean, not only that, I mean, the directions of building the hardware may be different because ubiquitous monitoring, I mean, ambient monitoring is not the books in closed sensors, right? It is outside. I mean, so ambient monitoring, like in your house, like in the room of the kids, right?
Mhm.
Um, this could be things, I mean, thinking about IoT connectivity that using different thermal sensors in order to provide this continuous monitoring, continuous clinical monitoring of the data itself. So could be open field, right? Closed, open, or open philosophy depends. I mean, depends on the strategies we want to follow.
Nice, nice. People, please, you can go ahead if you have any questions. We have many, say, some students that study AI here. So go ahead, people. Don't be ashamed. Samuel, do you want to do a question? You are not listening. You're not in this. Your sound is open, but is the microphone is not good. If you have any questions, raise your hand, please. It's more easy for me to.
Meanwhile, if it's okay, I will go ahead.
But let's, Samuel, try again, Samuel. Try again. Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. After Benny. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, nice to meet you guys. I'm a doctor working in Brazil here in Belo Horizonte. Ouro Preto is a very nice place to work, and I have been using AI a lot. I'm working more in emergency and urgency, so it's been like a lot of help to find information very fast and good information. So creating agents has been very good. And I have a question for you that is like, do you think it would be viable for us to use infrared technology to identify chronic inflammation in parts of the body, so we can like create protocol to prevent it?
Well, if I am catching your questions correctly, so that means you ask about if we are able to use the infrared thermal imaging to detect internal changes within the body.
No, not internal changes, but like chronic changes, like inflammation on the head or in the lungs, and someplace like, but in a chronic matter, like not a very big variation in temperature, but since this chronic variation is for a long time, it could affect the person, and it could like identify previous infections or treat like cases like alopecia areata, alopecias in the hair, due to like the minimal inflammation. I think if this is more viable, we could use that for prevention and follow-up in treatments, and how the effectiveness of the treatment according to the degree of inflammation measuring by thermoanalysis.
Yeah, and now it's clear. Well, this is amazing, to be honest. We are able to detect this chronological changes in the thermal process itself within the body if you have continuous monitoring. Okay, continuous monitoring, that means you put a patient with like, on Holter monitors, like, for 3 days or 4 days in order to gather the information of the cardiovascular disturbances. But even 4 days is not enough to make your predictions for the chronological changes, right? So you need at least 1 year. So here is the idea about, what we call augmented thermal imaging, which is used to have virtual sensing elements around the patient's whereabout, right? Around about. And this will help us to detect these changes, like not all the changes, but at least, a high percentage of it. And another solutions for that, if we need to use the texture scan, the thermal texture scan for this internal changes or chronological changes all the time, this could be also a breakthrough in the thermal imaging system, right? And the thermal imaging philosophy here. But we need to advance in the quantum dot sensing, in order to provide and continuous infrared monitoring over the time for this patient in order to gather this information. Yes, it is possible. For sure, it is possible, but it requires a lot of an extensive work in the field of the hardware integrations and also for the predictive data analytics, to be honest. But it is very good. It is a very amazing potential, sir.
That's very nice to hear. Thanks a lot. Would you have any recommendation for like what would be the Pareto of thermal imaging using AI today? Like if that is a software or a hardware, like not that big, that do not cost a lot and is very hard, that you could have like some benefit that you can use in the daily basis, or you think it's still like you need more cash and understanding of the matter to start to use it?
Yes. The better thing that with the agentic AI, I think AGI is like more descriptive terms in the field of the generative intelligence, whatever. Nowadays, we are working on developing thermal scanning software, or what we call thermal modeling software. It will be free of charge, like free for the researcher, and it could allow the researcher to build their own models, right, by using user interactions with them. It is still like in the newbie phase, and I hope that in the next months we will have a mature version, stable version of it. But there is a lot of, thermal modeling software is very expensive. When I work, with I think RadTherm. RadTherm is a very well-known thermal software. RadTherm,
Oh,
RADTHER, which is widely used in military, by NASA, by DoD, by Department of Defense in order to build the thermal signature models. I use it to build the thermal signature of the babies. So it is expensive, right? And it's actually $29,000 for, it's very expensive in terms of, researcher or the, clinicians work in this field. But for sure, in the advancement here, we are working on the development of this thermal modeling software for sure for the clinicians.
very nice. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Max.
Thank you, Professor Samuel. Go ahead, Belén, please.
Yes, first of all, I would like to congratulate you for your excellent presentation. It was really great. I really like it. And I just would like to make a question, let's say out of the box. So, if you could integrate, let's say, any available technology, regardless of current scientific limitations, into the AI thermography system, what would it be? And how do you envision it transforming patient outcomes or the global collaboration ecosystem that you already saw us?
Well, thank you for this interesting questions. I mean, it is now an open potential to integrate this AI-driven hardware. AI-driven volumeter, which is now developed by many companies in China and also by US. There is a FLIR and Teledyne also provide these technologies, but it is not completely AI-driven. They use the term AI-driven, but it is not fully AI-driven. Because when you implement more algorithm in the camera hardware, in the sensor hardware, in the firmware, you will have a lot of computational barrier. So down the road, when we have the quantum dot sensors, which is actually now developed, we can integrate more AI functionalities. Like we can integrate, real-time predictive diagnostics. I mean, single failure, multi-failure point, continuous monitoring, in-depth monitoring of this temperature changes for the different objects. We will have a lot of potentials here. But for sure, this will be an amazing, directions in the field of integrations. But thank you very much for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one more else, Marina, Fabio. We have people from Uruguay here, from US, from Mexico, from Spain. US, sure. No questions? Oh, I have another comment. You talk about the biomarker, infrared image as a biomarker and continuous. And so good this concept because we have a discussion on the beginning of the year about biomarker and explain to the people, don't expect infrared as a final definitive diagnosis, but it not means that it's not good or it's not work or it's not a medical. No, we have many examples of biomarkers in medicine, and here we bring information of perfusion, inflammation, microcirculation, different biomarkers with one instrument. Sure, but based on AI or based on software or based on transforming acknowledgement in important answer. So if you could please explain your view about biomarker and infrared as a biomarker, it'd be good as for our...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor Marco. This is, a very debatable point, about the thermal imaging because many clinicians, many physicians actually are against thermal imaging to be considered as a gold standard diagnostic, right? And there is a story about, the breast thermography, the auxiliary diagnostic tools as a consideration versus an X-ray mammography. But from my point of view, thermal imaging will be the potential for the future, because of the cheap implementations, reliable implementations, and the easiest way of, of integrations with different technology. And this is the beauty around thermal imaging. We are dealing, with the initial quantum sensors, right? And with the quantum sensing, we will have a lot of frontiers open for us.
Yes.
And my feelings, well, I should not say feelings, but my thinking forward is thermal imaging have a lot of potential here. And we need to invest in it. We need to study it. We need to research it. We need to investigate more and more about it.
Yes, and we have Dr. Sergio Pacio. He is our friend from Uruguay, and he has many experience with neonates, infrared imaging, infection, cardiac congenital problems. Do you like to comment something, Sergio, about your experience with neonates with Professor Abbas?
Yes. Thanks so much, Professor Biorski. Amazing explanation, Professor Al-Zubaidi. Okay. Okay. Yes. We not use a EA in the time. And for us, we research experience is many challenges inside the intensive care units, burn care units. But neonatal, the last presentation last Saturday from challenges about acquiring imagings inside the neonatal units because incubator, its limitation from perhaps the sensors, different types of sensors inside the room because 35, 36 degrees inside. And this is for us, is the, this neighborhood is less no way for detect the inflammation because always hot, everything is hot.
Right.
The first question from the researcher team is perhaps remove the neonatal inside the incubator. Yes, but how? Are possible? Yes, but really is no fix the problem. And others incubators for perhaps for surgery upside, it's the box. It's no problem from inside the sensor.
Okay.
But the inside the room is too very hot and no detect inflammation or really detect, but the temperature for out for 45 degrees, perhaps 35 degrees is too many hot and no other size for emergency room outside the incubator. The incubator for us is the work challenge from resolve this problem. Are you thinking about this way, or you think it's other way from resolve this world challenge?
Yeah, I mean, this is very good questions, and it was remind me about the challenge that I faced when I put the camera inside the incubator itself. There is a lot of solutions pathway here, and in order to counteract this perturbations, this physical changes, or this error sources in the calibrations of the thermal sensor itself. One of the things that I built at that time is mathematical model to compensate this error shift in the calibration of the camera. Yes, there is no black body here, but there is an emulator of the mathematical models that can counteract or that can compensate this drift in the sensor data, the sensor output data, in order to get a stabilized reading, right? A stabilized reading of the thermal images. But even this mathematical model is not fair enough, to counteract this perturbations in the temperature. So you need something different, like in terms of the internal hardware calibrations or internal hardware compensation circuit, which is very difficult to implement in the bolometer at that time. But with the advancement of what we call the MSoC, which is the miniaturized or the system on chip, we can implement this mathematical model very easily in the hardware in order to recalibrate the temperature, the camera itself each time we record, let's say within a specific temporal time, like 1 minute, every 1 minute, every 2 minutes, every 30 seconds, and so on, in order to counteract these changes. But with AI, even we can open opportunities to counteract, to recalibrate the camera itself by using this, this different method of the prediction model or what you call calibration prediction models in order to overcome this problem. I know the pain here. So.
Yes. Now here we use dynamic thermography inside incubators for register for cine thermography all the time. Into many modified for the different areas, but from not imaging statics, dynamics, and analyze it CSK files in field tours or research studio and extract imagings, not only static register, because it's very difficult. It's a challenge now.
That's good. I mean, congratulations. I really like to see, you know, this advancement in the neonatal imaging because it's very important. And you know, I feel proud that I start the point. Then everybody's not trying to invest more, develop more and more. I mean, to the field, to the extent that we need like a fully functional neonatal imaging. But thank you very much for your work as well.
Thanks so much.
There's a book of Professor Michael Umber from California University, UCLA, and he developed almost what Sergio is talking is dynamic area telethermometry, DAT, and he not measure the temperature alone, but the frequency. So like for example, the way that a normal skin emit infrared is different from when you have a high metabolic disease below infection or tumor or something like that. And he is like a transformation, Fourier transformation, and he tried to separate this. There's a book about, but he died 10 years ago, and I believe nobody will go ahead with that, but there's some publications on this. And I believe now we are in the moment to review this, especially with AI, it will be more easy to restart this kind of research. Okay, Professor, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
For us, it was very, very good, for an amazing experience. And all the times I invite you, I become very happy because you incentivize us to study more, to do more, to read more, to understand that infrared is not just taking pictures. You need to be a little crazy to understand the engineering. If you're a doctor, if you're a doctor, you need to study a little engineering. If you're engineer, you need to study a little medicine. So, and it's good when you, and now both us, we need to study AI and these things. Sure, we are here. We are open to welcome students and institutional partners in our research initiatives. And do you have any initiatives for students in your country, in your university on this moment, for engineering or doctors, or
we have
want to do a PhD or a master in something like that?
We are still not like, you know, we need we open a master degree and like a postgraduate degree or the graduate degrees in the field of public health. I mean, public health and computational informatics, like, you know, matching between the public health and the computational tools that used in the public health. For example, like disease monitoring, and even, you know, like surgery. Real-time thermal monitoring during surgeries. And this will be like open next year, hopefully in 2026. And we are welcome more than, you know, international students, you know, to be at AUIB, despite it's very hot country, right? It is not like Brazil or not like Canada or US, but it is very welcome, you know, to collaborate and then invite students here to do research and collaborate on different fields of thermal imaging as well.
Okay, thanks so much, Professor. Thank you for these magical minutes. And if you, for everybody here, if you're not yet a member of AAT, contact me or go to the internet on the website of AAT, American Academy of Thermology, and if you want to become a member. And we also have this presentation and the other ones on our YouTube channel, American Academy of Thermology YouTube channel, and also on Spotify in Portuguese and also in English, the Thermal Truth, What Your Doctor Doesn't Know. Thanks so much for the time of everyone, and especially of Professor Abbas. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.